As spring it guides the great rebirth of the quiet village Perth, the children can't contain their mirth, sheltered from the layman's curse. But as the darkness twists with rage, the chosen one shall turn the page. The light freed from her darkened cage shall start the journey, set the stage for the coming of the Shadow Age.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Once upon a time, near the village of Perth, there lived a boy named Aaron. One spring day, he was playing a game of hide and seek with his best friends, Madeline and Lochran. While searching the forest for a hiding place, Aaron found himself at the entrance of a dark and foreboding cave, one he never knew existed, until now. Suddenly, a light flared before him. Astonished, Aaron stood face to face with a mysterious, magical orb. Quietly, it spoke to him. There is a blackness befalling this land, a creeping darkness wrought by an evil as old as time itself. He is the Nightcaster, and if left uncontested, he will immerse in shadow all that your kind hold dear. You have been chosen to relight this world. By collecting the 4 essences of magic, you can fight this evil, but there is much that you must learn, and to learn will take years from your life. The orb dimmed. If you are to become one with the power of magic, it is the only way. Aaron hesitated for a moment, and slowly reached for the light.
Visit the floating books to learn the basic lessons that you'll need. Open books are lessons that you have already learned. The 3 small spheres above the active spell sphere represent your readied spells. There are additional spells that can be rotated into the... To cast a spell, pull and release the right trigger. This will cast your active spell, represented by the large sphere in the lower right corner of the screen. The large sphere in the lower left corner of the screen is your health indicator. You lose health. Before you lingers the essence of life, step through it to increase your health. The small spheres above the health indicator represent your mana supply. Mana is the magical energy that is used to cast a spell. To view the in-game map, press and hold. To return the camera to its The spellbook is where the spells and other things you collect are stored and managed. Press Start to open and close the spellbook. To turn the spellbook pages, use the left thumbstick. To select an item on a page, use the left thumbstick to highlight it and then press the A button. This is a spell sphere. It contains a new spell or increases the power of a spell that you already have. To pick it up, step through it. This is a teleporter. It transports you between 2 points within a level. Magic consists of 4 spell schools: fire, water, light, and dark. The spells you cast and the enemies you battle are all created from these 4 schools. Your spells are strongest against creatures of the opposing school, and weakest against creatures of the same school. For example, a water spell works best against a fire creature, but against a water creature, it would be utterly useless. The circles before you are magic school changers, one for each of the 4 schools of magic. When you step inside, the spells that you possess from that school will increase in power. You are now a fire mage. Your spells are strongest against water creatures. You are now a dark mage. Your spells are strongest against light creatures. This is a mushroom ring. It gives you the opportunity to save your progress. But beware, each mushroom ring can be used only once. This is an example of a spawner. Only by destroying it will you halt the flow of creatures from its depths.
Tiny! 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 Tiny!
Before you lingers mana, the energy used to cast spells. When you pass me through it, your mana will increase.
Tiny! 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 Tiny!
nothing down that lane but death. When the blackness... No one outside the gates ever...
I told them to move to the city. Why wouldn't they listen? When the darkness came, they didn't stand a chance. Not a chance. Oh. All they ever wanted was to raise their family
Tiny!
in peace. Is
Tiny!
there no justice?
Tiny! 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 Tiny!
Be gone! I have lost my sister and her family to these murderous raiders. Can't I mourn in peace? Be gone! I have lost my sister and her family to these...
Mother! Father! What have I done?
It is the Nightcaster who has orchestrated this, unleashing his minions upon your family with hopes of shattering your resolve. Do not let it, child. Only through the completion of our quest will we have the ability to exact payment for the debt that your heart is owed.
Tiny! 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 Ah! Tiny! 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 Tiny!
You have come to the end of the road. Do you wish to travel onward to Perth?
This glowing sphere is a mana ball. Mana balls store spell energy used when casting spells. To pick it up, step through it. The mana ball must be applied to a school of magic. When the spellbook opens, use the left thumbstick to move the ball over the desired school, and then press the A button.
Be gone! This is no place to stand about gawking. I have taught you all that I can, Erin. The forces of darkness lie ahead, entrenched in the village of Perth. There is no turning back. The hope of the world shall begin and end with you. In the vale that once grew sweet, with fields of posies rich and deep, unmoved by mercy, death shall reap, as war it drags its booted feet. Yet on the field one rose will stand, till light it flares to tip the hand, and from their purge the traitors band, their fall revives the withered land, to plant hope in naught but sand. Quickly, Erin, we must make our way to the Perth docks. There we will find a ship that can carry us onward.